This conference will now be recorded.
Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of open meeting law, GL Section 30, paragraph 20, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Harwich Board of Health is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. I'll call the meeting to order, and we'll proceed with the minutes from the previous meeting.
Just have to do a roll call vote.
Oh, sorry, just remind me. Sure, everybody's here, you mean?
Yep, so you'll go through and everyone will say their name, just like they'll have to vote with their name. They'll have to say, you'll have to say Kevin, and he'll say I'm an I, or I'm present.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so Sharon?
Here.
Ron?
Here.
Matt?
Here.
And Kevin?
Here.
And I'm here. So, we'll first take the meeting minutes of September 14th. Any corrections with the minutes? No? Okay. Sharon? I
wasn't, anyway, I don't know which one you're on because I wasn't here for one of them.
I think you were here September 1.
I'm thinking no, because that's when I had my surgery. Right.
Oh, you missed 2. That's right. Okay. So, I need a motion to accept the minutes of September 14th.
I'll make a motion.
A motion by Ron, a second.
I second the motion.
And I'm sorry, who was that? Was that Matt?
Kevin.
Oh, Kevin? Okay, I'm sorry. And Kevin seconding the motion. So all in favor, Matt?
Aye.
Ron?
Yep.
Yes.
And Kevin?
Yes.
Okay. So all in favor. Then the
Aye.
October 20th minute meeting, any corrections or comments? Okay. Do I hear a motion to accept the minutes?
I motion to accept the minutes from October 20th.
Kevin's accepting motion. Second?
I'll second it.
Sharon?
Yep.
Seconding it. All in
Yes.
favor?
Aye.
Also
Yes.
Sharon
I'm in favor.
Yes.
and Ron
Yes.
and Matt
Yes.
and Kevin,
Yes.
okay, and myself, so everyone's in agreement. Okay,
Okay, continuing on to your work session, the first thing on your agenda is the draft 2020 meeting schedule. Hopefully you've all had a chance to look at it and let us know if you have any conflicts or wish to change anything.
You meant 2021, right?
2021, yep,
Okay.
can't come fast enough.
Yes. Everybody's in agreement there.
Yeah, yeah, I yeah, I wouldn't have a, other than maybe, next Christmas I might not be here, but other than that.
Mhm.
Let's not talk about that now.
So, looks good to me.
Yeah, it's very good. Thank you, Megan, for the an effort.
Oh, sure, that was all Jen.
Oh, Jen, thank you. What happened to Jen? I don't even, okay.
Her
Thank
feed
you,
kept
Jen.
freezing, so she went just on the phone instead of on the computer. So do you want to just vote on that?
Yes,
Okay, everybody in agreement to vote?
Yes.
No,
yes,
okay. Do I hear a motion to accept the fertilizer and nutrient control regulation?
We haven't quite discussed those yet.
We're voting on the schedule. Right?
Oh, I missed it. We're voting on
Right.
this. I thought we were doing way ahead of myself. Sorry. Okay.
You threw me for a minute on that one.
Do I have to get everybody's vote on that too? For the schedule?
Yep.
Okay. So I hear a motion
Okay.
to accept this 2021 schedule.
I make a motion to accept the schedule for 2021 for the Board of Health.
I'll second it.
First,
I'll second
and
it.
Ron is second. And all in agreement, Sharon?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes,
Matt?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
And myself? Sorry about that. I was daydreaming a little bit. Okay.
Okay, so the next item on your agenda is the draft fertilizer regulation. And this has been continued a couple times. And in your packet, there's a bit of information before the draft regulation, just to give some background. The water wastewater superintendent, Dan Pelletier, included some information on the Pleasant Bay watershed permit that was issued back in 2018 as part of the comprehensive wastewater management plan. And what this does is show how important it is to have a fertilizer regulation. It can reduce nitrogen and reduce the number of parcels that we need to sewer, which in turn reduces the cost of sewering. So that beginning part with Mass DPH, letterhead, and permit itself. And then after that fairly long document is the draft fertilizer regulation. So I'm happy to read through it page by page, or we can just, you guys can just start discussions.
Can we actually start from the top and go down? Because I have a couple of question marks.
Sure.
Not surprising.
Yeah. This is, it's been in the works for a while, so it's important to
Yeah.
get it done and get it right. So
Okay.
very first page.
All right.
I
My
can
first
go.
question on this is going to be, one, is this a regulation or a bylaw, and what is the difference between the two?
So a regulation is something that the Board of Health can adopt and enforce without going to town meeting. A regulation from the Board of Health, you have the power to adopt and develop regulations to protect the public health. And all you have to do is draft a regulation, have it published in a paper for 2 weeks in a row, and then hold a public hearing. And then if you're all in agreement and vote on the regulation, it becomes law. A bylaw, on the other hand, is something that requires the vote at town meeting, and it's usually backed by a board other than the Board of Health, the Selectmen or the Conservation Commission. It doesn't mean that the Board of Health can't be the regulatory authority on that. It just means that it's in the bylaws of the town of Harwich. So it goes to town meeting and it gets voted on at town meeting. And that, in a way, is kind of more of a way to get the public on board with it and make sure that this is what the public wants and not just what the Board of Health wants. However, this has implications for sewering, and it's been on your agenda for a while, so we can either do a bylaw and wait until May to put it on the town meeting, or we can do it sooner.
All right, so the regulation, you would still have to have a public hearing, so the people could have some input. The basic concept here is we've got to do something because it's part of the CWMP.
That's right. Yep.
All right,
So
so then my question is going to be, we're going to call this a regulation. So in the text of this, there's places where we also refer to it as a bylaw. So I'm wondering when that happens, or when we get to that, should that be changed? I'm just going to, there is one on the second page and it says this bylaw. So should we be calling it this regulation?
yes, yeah, that was pointed out to me earlier. So if you want to go through it, and if you've highlighted it, do you know where they are in the text?
Yep. All right. So and I'll leave this up to everybody else. I'm all right with what's in the findings. I don't know if anybody else wants to comment.
I'm okay. Anybody else?
I'm okay.
Okay, I'm assuming if somebody had some questions, they would ask it. Okay, so then, going down to purposes, one of the things I just saw there on that first little paragraph on the third sentence, there it says where it's based on the findings provided in, and there's I'm not sure what that is, and then the Board of Health provides. So there's whatever a little thing there. I don't know if it's a one or I or what it is. Is that supposed to be something?
Yep, provided in one, which is the findings above section.
Oh, that's a one. Okay. Oh,
Do you
it's a
understand?
one.
Because findings are
One.
on.
All right. I guess that's consistent with this goal and based on the findings provided in.
We could change it to say above.
Right. Consistent with this goal and based on the findings provided in. Would it make sense to use the word one if you want to use one? Instead of a letter, I mean a number there, to say one, comma, the Board of Health provides this regulation to achieve the following purposes. Do we need that one there?
Well, it's a Roman numeral, and it's referring to the section titled findings.
All right. Okay.
But we can change it. We can change it to just say provided above.
Oh, all right. Provided in. All right. What if we said provided in the findings above? Because I would not have realized that one meant the one up above here.
Okay, we can clean that up.
And then, okay, then we're going to call this a regulation. That's okay. Okay. All right. I'm going to move. If nobody else has anything, I'm going to move on to B under purposes. Anybody else? I don't mean to take this over.
It's all right. Go ahead.
Okay, under B, where it says to provide legal mechanism for enforcement. So this, I'm just clarifying this. So this will be legally or can be legally enforced. And by that, we mean there can be a fine or some sort of a penalty. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Okay, that answered that question. Now, where it says under C, it says to incorporate by reference. University of Massachusetts extension. are we going to include that actual reference as part of an appendix? Because otherwise, I don't know anybody's going to know what that's going to refer to.
We can do that.
Okay. I feel bad. Does anybody have any comments besides me? Okay.
We were waiting for you, Sharon.
All right. So then under D, to provide a regulatory tool. I'm not sure what that tool is.
It's the regulation.
Okay. Provide a regulatory. Okay. Okay. Then somehow or another we've got to connect the regulatory tool with that University of Massachusetts Extension turf management, whatever. But I would not have realized that regulatory tool was necessarily referring to that. Does anybody else see that?
It's not referring to the extensions BMPs. The purpose of this document is to provide a way to regulate compliance with the TMDL.
All right, so the purpose, all right, if we go back to the actual word, the purpose is to provide a regulatory tool. All right, okay, gotcha. All right. So then I'm assuming under E that the standards are also to provide standards. So are the standards coming from that University of Massachusetts, or are we providing the standards?
A little of both. Within the next couple of pages, there are standards that were incorporated using UMass Extension's language.
All right. So if that's the case, all right. So the performance. So then that standards is referring to the performance standards on page 3 under performance standards.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Can we say to provide standards as provided in what number? 6. Roman numeral 6 performance standards. So they're going to know what that's referring to. Because as I was reading that, I didn't know what the standards were, but now that you're saying that, it makes sense. So would it make sense to say, to provide standards or provide the standards as, all right, somebody else can give me some words there, as provided, to provide standards.
I think this is just the purpose, though. Do we have to?
Well, all right, but if you're looking, I guess the way I'm looking at this is, if we're going to say that up front, as you're reading this, all right, which was what happened with me, I have no idea what you're talking about with standards, to provide the standards. But just like where we said number 1, which was findings, I wouldn't have put number 1, I wouldn't have connected that number 1 with the findings.
What if just right after that sentence, provide standards that will allow reasonable use of fertilizers for the enhancement and maintenance of turf quality, which are located in section 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I like that. Yep.
All right.
All right. Okay. All right. So that we are calling this a regulation. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I'm then going to jump down to applicability. Anybody else before that? Okay. So then we have the I go into the system of education, standardization, and regulation of practice. So, all right. So we can then say the education. I see where this. All right, I got you. All right. we're just going to refer back there. All right, we'll leave that go. Under B, we have the bylaw, so that should be changed.
Yep.
Okay. And I see there's another one down here under definitions, the second paragraph, second. You could probably do it. Ooh, wow, what happened here? Wow. Are you there?
We're here.
Okay, something weird. I'm not. Oh, maybe I can shut this down here. Okay. Oh God, I'm not going to touch it. Okay. You could probably do a scan for anything that says bylaws and change that to regulatory or regulation. Yeah, that might be a need because I see there's some under C too. There's a bylaw there. All right,
Yeah,
so
and
you
it's
can do that.
definitions and everywhere. So
Yeah. All right, now when you get to the enforcement authority, all right, so how is that actually going to be enforced? Basically, I mean, you're not going to have people going around checking for it. So basically, I'm just curious how this will be enforced. Basically, you're looking at what? Somebody reporting somebody, or?
That's how the straw bylaw went and the plastic bag ban went.
Okay.
We gained compliance by educating people and letting them know what the regulation is, and then it was reported by complaints, basically.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'm on page 3. Am I jumping ahead before somebody else wants to say something?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. So then I'm looking at, the definition of a fertilizer and heavy rain. Those are pretty self-explanatory. I guess my question, and that's going to fall in back further as well, is how is anybody really going to know? It says, you're not supposed to put down fertilizer if a rainfall greater than 0.25 inches per hour during a 24-hour period, or a rainfall greater than 1 inch in the next 24-hour period. I know where it's coming from, but when you make something that specific, I don't see how anybody could enforce it, or how anybody could even say, oh, well, my neighbor did this, and I don't think, I think we had, greater or lesser than 0.25 inches per hour. I guess I'm just saying, with that kind of a detail, is there any way to anybody would even know that? Anybody?
I think, that stuff is published, but you're right.
I know what it's saying, and it makes sense.
I think if I can add, Sharon, most of these have been put in. Most of these are copied from the state regulations of trying to enforce it around the Cape, and so I think you have to put a number in there, and then believe that people are going to use it as a guideline. Look at the weather forecast and take a shot at it. I don't think that's going to be something that Megan or anyone's going to go out and measure to enforce it. But
yeah. All right. So it's just kind of there. All right.
It's better to have a number than not have a number, so people have somewhere to think about it.
Okay. Oh God, is anybody there?
Yes, I'm here.
we're here.
This is Mike.
We're all listening to you.
These things keep popping up on my computer. Okay. So
And this is my
some of this stuff makes sense to like highlight some of these, like maybe that where it'll jump out at you. And I'm also looking at where we're talking performance standards, where they're listing prohibited between November 15th and April 15th. Like highlighting some of those, like, definitive type of things. Like those are definitive dates so that they jump out at you. That's just a thought.
I
You
think
can
that,
highlight, though. You can highlight that. And then put in something about if we're going to expect heavy rain, fertilizer shouldn't be put down.
Yeah. I just think, you know, as people read through this, you know, and then they want to go back and look at it, it's nice if something is highlighted that draws your eyes to specifics. That's just a thought.
This is Michael and Kerry Valandry. We're looking at a waiver. Is that something that
Yep,
we
you're in the right place. We're just finishing up some other business. So we'll
Okay, thank you.
we'll announce your address as soon as we get to it on the agenda.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. You can mute your phone until that time, just in case it gets loud. Sharon.
Yeah. So like I said, that was just my thoughts. Like sometimes when I'm reading something, it's like, oh, I saw this. You know, I'm not supposed to do it between such and such a date or whatever. And I'm going to have to sit here and read that whole thing instead of paging through it and having it pop out. Just a thought. Okay.
I think we could do things that involve some type of specific statistic, like the heavy rain, or not to be applied 24 hours after a heavy rain. Then on, you know, the next page 4G, anything that has a specific amount of something we could highlight.
Yeah, like I was looking at C there on page 4, where it says, you know, should not be applied within 24 hours. Just
Right.
the 24 hours. Just it's going to draw your eye to something like that.
Yeah.
So that's a thought. So, you know, if you want to do that, that's okay. Under E, Zone 1, does everybody in the public know what Zone 1 is? So with that, I'm thinking, do we need somewhere to explain what Zone 1 is, where it says, I'm under E, and they're talking about fertilizer shall not be applied closer than 100 feet to any water body or within the Zone 1 of a public drinking water well. How would somebody even know where there's Zone 1 and where a drinking well is?
So we should add that into definitions, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now, education, where it says the town may rely on the Cape Cod Cooperative Extension to assist in maintaining a program of fertilizer and turf management education that is based on BMPs. So that to me is a kind of an ambiguous statement. The town may rely on Cape Cod to assist in maintaining. So are we or are we not? And what would that include?
We can rely on them if we see problems. If we start getting complaints, we can rely on the Cape Cod Cooperative Extension to provide an education program. They do that, something like that in Chatham.
Okay.
They have a class, and you can become a certified fertilizer applicator.
Okay. Maintaining a program for turf education. All right. All right, I understand what you're saying now. I wasn't sure what that was getting at. Are we going to, we as a town, are we going to supply any continuing education for, I don't know, for anybody that would want it, or for people that are doing landscaping and that they know that we have these regulations, that they're different from, let's say, Chatham or Brewster or something nearby? I mean, if they're not all the same, do we have to provide, do we send like a notice out to each possible landscaper in the area that would, you know, possibly have clientele in Harwich?
We can.
I'm just wondering, I mean, if we're saying, you know, we're putting this all together, but if people don't, if particularly the landscapers or even the general public, how do we get this information out to them? Are we going to send it out, or are we going to?
I know I kind of brought this up, and I believe it was in September. And I mean, right in the next line, and I think it could just play a very key important role. And obviously, we're not going to be able to get everybody on Cape Cod. People are going to buy stuff from in locations in other town and hire whoever they want. However, this little part at the beginning of the next paragraph, where it says collaboration with retailers to post in-store information on town fertilizer regulations. I do agree with Sharon's point of a few of these, you know, highlighted areas. Would it be possible for those places that need to post something in the store is have something they can hand to a patient that will direct them here and also highlight some of the key points? Because you're not going to be able to count on everybody to read all of it, but if you give them like a single page that just says, okay, not here, you know, X, Y, and Z, just a couple really key points that require those stores, those retailers.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the date, you know, between, what was it, November or April or something, you know, some of the highlights.
It's the heavy rain, just a couple of the really key points. You could hit the real, you know, a lot of like the finer points, because those are going to be landscaping companies and major ones. Most people who are fertilizing their own home, if you hit them with the major points and then direct them where to go to look at the fine details, I would think that would be sufficient.
Yeah, because I think if we're going to say that to follow the CWMP, to just put this together and say, oh, we have this regulation, really isn't doing anything. It's got to get out to the people that are going to be, the you know, like the landscapers and the people that do their own fertilizer, that they have at least a high point.
I see where you're going. I agree with that.
Megan, how easy logistically would it be to get a one-page, keep it simple, something that retailers could hand to people in the stores as they are purchasing fertilizer?
It's very easy. Things already exist, so we can take from things that are already exist. It's just a matter of the retailers being receptive to handing it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think as long as we get the information out there, you know, I agree. I know we look at everything, and it's going to be one of those things that's really tough to regulate. But, you know, I think most people, when you're putting this kind of information out there, if you make it clear for them and easy to understand, will follow along. So I think like a one page where it's like really the highlights are clear cut, and then directing them here to come look would be fantastic.
To start,
I'd like something like that. And I do think, and I don't want this to sound heavy-handed, but something in there that, you know, anybody that violates this could be subject to, and we could, you know, list some of those penalties, because you hand something like this out and then somebody turns around and wants to fine them and they say, well, it didn't say that. So I think you at least have to let them know that there is that chance that there could be a penalty.
Isn't that covered in Section 8?
Right, yeah, but I'm saying on that short page, on that the one pager.
Oh.
I think you need to just mention that you know, you don't have to go into such detail, but that they are aware that there could be a penalty involved, because I think if not, you hand that one pager out and then somebody reports them, and then you want to try to find them, they'll say, well, I didn't know that this didn't say that. So I just tend to think that you kind of need at least that little, that there is that possibility of a penalty on that one pager. It doesn't have to be that whole paragraph.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm good.
Megan, can I make a comment?
Sure. Pam's meeting, sure.
Okay. To Sharon's point, I've had these discussions with other towns on fertilizer regulations because it's, you know, it's been long going. I know Paula and I talked about this on the enforcement aspect. And I think, Sharon, to your point, I get where you're going, but I think what the other towns have done, and I actually think DEP as well, has emphasized the educational aspect of this rather than the enforcement aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking that putting these regulations out as a regulation shows our intent, but not emphasizing the enforcement part. And this gives us a chance to use this to, I think, primarily as an educational tool.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from as well. Yeah. But chances are you're probably not going to be finding an individual. Probably, if anything, it's going to be someone that's doing this professionally that's disregarding it, I guess.
Years ago, I hate to say this, guys, I sound like I'm 150 years old. And in better times when we actually could have meetings, we did have a very good meeting on use of fertilizers for all the landscapers. And we called in some of the, I forget who put that together for us, but that was well received and giving education at least to the landscapers.
Oh, that might be something to think about the summer of 2022. You know, to do some education then, but, you know, like this next coming year, you know, to try to do something virtual, or I just don't see getting the reception to that, but I can see where, you know, it might be a good idea to do something like that, but that would almost have to wait till 2022. I'm thinking.
It's very reasonable.
Megan's thinking, thank God. So those were my only comments.
Okay. So I guess we need to readdress this when the changes are made.
I can make the changes that you guys have talked about tonight. If you would like, we can post this as a public hearing in January, and then you can move forward with it. At that time, if you may want to make further changes, then we can postpone it to February, but at least if we make the changes and post it as a public hearing in January, you have the option to formally vote on it.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay,
Larry,
we'll do that.
Larry, I have a question for you. Is he still there?
I'm here.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think you need to look at my pretty face this much.
Okay. The fact that this is a requirement of the CWMP, is this something that then has to be submitted to Cape Cod Commission to let them know that we've done this?
No, because it's now in our CWMP, we've agreed to do this. We haven't taken the action on it. And that's why Megan's brought it up, and you guys are considering it, because we've already, it's already on our CWMP. But
I know
Megan,
it's a requirement.
well, it's not a requirement. It is to the extent that we've agreed to do it. It's in our, yes, it's in our CWMP that we will do the fertilizer regulations.
I'm just wondering whether, don't we have to let them know that we've done it, or maybe submit that? Don't we get, I thought we got some sort of credit for this.
We, you know, the Cape Cod Commission has written another draft report, and I think it's will be issued. Maybe it has already. I haven't seen it. If it's not in this one, it'll be in the next one, in our draft report that we provide input in. So we'll provide the input that way.
Oh, all right, all right.
What drives what Megan and Dan what Megan brought up, I believe, Megan, I hate to speak for you, but the discussion with Dan was much more specific. We get credit for this regulation in the Pleasant Bay targeted watershed, in which we've agreed to remove so much nitrogen from Pleasant Bay. So this is a critical aspect of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, I was just curious. Megan's thinking, oh, shut up. Okay. I'm finished.
Okay, so I think since it's past 7, we could move to new business and come back to the COVID-19 update. I know we have some people on the line for new business. So we can open up new business. Letter A is 14 Hardin Lane, Phase 2 sewer waiver, to consider granting a request to utilize an existing cesspool system until the municipal sewer is available for connection, which is projected to be in July of 2020.
Okay, yes, this is Carrie Valandry. And Michael. We're new, moving down here, so looking for some support and guidance, but we are in a tough spot with the Title V. As the family house we are looking to purchase is not up to date. I mean, it has a cesspool. We also have been we've been connected to the town sewer, but the pump at this point is not working, and it's supposed to be working in April. They said July. And the other issue is that, you know, we don't want to spend, we don't have a ton of money, and we don't want to put in a permanent septic system for 6 months and have it just crushed and then use town sewage. So we're really looking, we're very open-minded to other options, such as a holding tank, combustible toilet, or we'll pay for the porta potty because we're going to have construction done. I mean, we're just open for any of those things. So we're really needing this waiver so we can move forward.
Megan, your recommendation?
Hi, sorry, I was just heat up. So I did have some questions for the new buyers before I make a recommendation. You had said you were doing some renovations. When do you think those renovations will be finished, and do you have another place to live in the meantime?
Yes, we are presently living with my parents. They're in Yarmouthport, and so we do have another place to go.
All right, but as soon as what we're waiting for, excuse me, it's just Michael Valandry. What we need to go forward with is the mortgage company needs a waiver in order for us to get the loan that we're looking for.
To purchase the home.
Right, and when that is completed, then we can start on our construction, and the amount of time that that's going to take, I guess, all depends on us getting permits properly in place and moving from there. I don't know. I am not knowledgeable when it comes to that. I mean, it's all going to be done by local contractors. Dan Speakman has already been on the property, and things of that sort. So I guess it's just a matter of when can we get started, and the sooner the better for us.
Yeah,
you know?
for us, for the waiver. And
well, and for us to
whatever,
move in too. To
yeah,
get what we need done. I got Peter. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Peter Tuffle. He was the surveyor that's working with us also. Bill Swanson, who is a builder and contractor out of Brewster, is also working with us, and he's also put up quite a few homes in Harwich. So I mean, he's familiar with what's to be expected. So I guess we're at your mercy. In order for us to get our loan from the bank, we need that waiver. So
yes,
and whatever it takes. If it's okay.
Are you looking to raise and replace the house, or are you just renovating the inside?
No, just renovating and putting in like an addition, a couple of additions on, like that.
If they're passed. But for right now, we're just doing renovations within the house.
Well,
you know,
that's what we're looking for.
yeah, because it's yes. So
Okay.
we, you know, and we have another place to live.
Okay. So I'm going to give the Board of Health the update from my perspective, or the background here. So this property is in phase 2. The sewer main was in place. It was just installed in Hardin Lane just recently.
Correct. Yes.
There is a pump station that needs to be installed, and then the whole system, all of phase 2, has to be connected to Chatham before it's considered active. So we're looking at the end of July for completion of phase 2, contract 2, which is what Hardin Lane is in. Should everything go as planned, the phase 2 would be finished, and then would be able to start sending flow to Chatham probably in August. That's best case scenario.
Okay.
So Hardin Lane right now has a cesspool system. It's 2 cesspools in series, and the Title V inspection showed the first cesspool was collapsed, and it went to a distribution box, which was also collapsed, and finally it leads to an overflow cesspool that is still taking flow, but it is below groundwater, and the system is within 100 feet of a bordering vegetated wetland.
Right.
Those reasons make the system a failed system, not just because it's a cesspool, but because of those other 2 reasons as well.
Right. Yeah.
So I have 2 options or suggestions, and they're not, these are my suggestions for the Board of Health to discuss with you. And my first suggestion is to abandon the cesspool system and install a tight tank to be used until the sewer is able to be connected to. And then the second suggestion is that you don't occupy the house until you connect to the sewer. A tight tank requires a engineer plan and a installer, and can cost probably around $5,000. if it's financially more appealing to stay with your in-laws for another few months instead of doing that, then that's an option as well. So
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
So we'd like to go.
We'd like
we'd
to go-
with the holding tank.
Well, or the in-laws. Either one. Well, either one will be.
But the holding tank would be the solution that I would be looking for.
Okay.
Only because that the amount of work that the house needs on the inside, nobody has lived there for. I'm sure
12
that you
years.
might be aware of that, but
12
it
years.
has been 12 years, and you know, we've had things done on the exterior of the house just so you can see the house. Because when we first saw the house, that you wouldn't even know that there was a house there. That's how much overgrowth. That's how much overgrowth there was. So, yeah, I would say because of the amount of work that needs to get done is overwhelming, and I have really no idea how long everything's going to take. As far as pulling the permits, as far as how many contractors, you know, of the availability, so on and so forth. I think the holding tank would be something I would be interested in, and I'm willing to do. If it costs $5,000, then so be it.
okay, so having that information, speaking to the Board of Health, I would recommend approval of the waiver with the conditions that a tight tank be installed for temporary use, and that it be abandoned once the sewer is available and connection to the sewer be made, that a sewer connection design plan and permit to connect to the sewer be submitted within 6 months of the waiver approval. And connect to the municipal sewer required within 45 days of the order to connect. Should the tight tank overflow or become an environmental hazard, it needs to be remedied immediately and pumped. The tight tank should be monitored by a pumping company to make sure it doesn't reach full capacity and start overflowing.
Sure.
The property should be restricted to a maximum of 2 bedrooms, and that the waiver approval and conditions will be recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds.
That's fine. That would work out perfectly.
That would work out good for us. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Nope.
Yeah. How?
I feel if
how
they're
long-
for a tight tank.
I'm sorry, we didn't hear that.
No,
I didn't either.
as long as you're willing to put in that tight tank, I would certainly, you know, approve it, you know, with the knowledge that it's going to be hooked up to the sewer system later.
Right. Yeah. Oh no, we're the first ones in line for that hookup. I mean, I've already talked to 3-4 other people on the street, and
The contractor.
you know, trying to, you know, connect with the neighbors and stuff like that there. And we're ready to go as soon as that hookup is ready. We're
Thank
ready.
you. We will take that.
All right.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Well, one other. How long can we anticipate it's going to take? I guess. How long is it going to take to get our waiver that we can present to the mortgage company?
Wait a minute, I'm asking about, I'm sorry, I'd like to just ask the board members if they have any questions.
I'm sorry.
No.
No problem. Any
I'm
other
good.
comments?
I do not. I'm okay with the recommendations that Megan put forward.
Okay. Matt?
I'm okay with that too, as long as, you know, they do everything that Megan recommended. Yeah.
And Sharon?
Yes, I'm good.
Ron?
Yes.
Okay. Do I need to make a motion if this is in a hearing?
This is a hearing. Someone needs to make a motion to approve.
Oh, okay.
Conditions.
I
Okay.
motion that we approve the waiver for the 14 Hardin Lane house, granted that the conditions that have been discussed be met.
Okay, that's Kevin making a motion. Second?
Second. I'll second it.
Sharon seconding it. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Matt?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
And myself, so the motion's passed unanimously per Megan's recommendations.
Okay. And to answer your question, Mr. Valandri, the waiver should be complete within a week because we're working remotely and all of the other things we have on our plate at the moment. It won't be done this week. I would expect it to be done early next week, Monday or Tuesday, and we will mail it to you or you can pick it up. We'll let you know.
Okay. That's beautiful. I appreciate your cooperation.
Yes. And we will pick it up, right?
Yeah, we can do it.
We can pick it up.
You bring tears to my eyes.
We'll give you a call when it's complete.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night. Thank you.
You too.
Good night.
Okay. The next hearing we have on the agenda is for Plotner, 11 Hiawatha Road, to consider a variance request to upgrade a Title V septic system prepared by Moran Engineering Associates. Variances from 310 CMR 15211, minimum setbacks. We have a variance to allow a proposed soil absorption system to be 7.5 feet from the south property line where 10 feet is required. Variance request of 2.5 feet. To allow a proposed septic tank to be 6 feet from the crawl space, 10 is required. Variance request of 4 feet. And to allow a proposed soil absorption system to be 12 feet from the garage cellar wall where 20 is required. Variance request of 8 feet.
I open the hearing.
Hello, Board. Dan Croto from Moran Engineering. Here for the Plotners, and also with me is Brian Wall, who's representing the Plotners. He's their attorney and helping them through the process. So we've gone through the zoning board and conservation board, conservation commission, and also is Holly Trick, who did the who is the building designer, and also doesn't look like it, but Cape Coastal Builders is the construction group that were with us on the other hearings, but I don't think we have questions. We would need them on this hearing. This is a 1950s existing 3-bedroom house. It's in the floodplain. It has a septic that's too close to groundwater. So the owners are looking to remove the existing house and build a new house. It's a little hard to see from the plan that you have, but the actual new house, the footprint of the new house is a little smaller than the existing house, but it is a 2-story house, like most of the, or maybe even all of the new houses in the Harwich Board area. The new house will be flood zone compliant, and then it gives us the opportunity to put in a septic system which was 5 feet above groundwater. We still need setback variances, but to a lesser degree than the existing house. So the existing, on record, there's existing 4 variances for the existing septic. And so we're looking for 3 variances, and right now Right now, the leaching to a lot line is 5 feet and 7 feet. We're asking for a leaching to one lot line at 7.5 feet. Leaching area to the garage is now 5 feet. We're asking for the leaching to be 12 feet. And the septic tank to the building is right now 4 feet, and we're asking for that to be 6 feet. So we're looking at improvements, marginal improvements and everything, as the lot is the lot and building in this area. The lot's much smaller than current zoning. It's only a 5,600 square foot lot. So when you put the new environmental regs on it, it doesn't fit in there for the variance process. We did get approval through conservation and also zoning board. We've been through that board also. So we're asking obviously for review and comments from this board, and we'll try to answer any questions that you have. And with that, I will ask for questions.
Any comments from the board? Megan, what is your recommendation?
With the changes they're making, the new design provides better separation to groundwater and to property lines, and the house is remaining 3 bedrooms. I recommend approval with the following conditions. The property shall be deed restricted to a maximum of 3 bedrooms, no further increase in habitable space or square footage to the dwelling without review by the Board of Health, and the variances and conditions shall be recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds.
Okay, I close the hearing. Any comments from the public? Okay. Questions from the board?
I don't have any.
No, happy that improvements are being made on what exists already, as I used to frame, so I get it.
Okay. Do I hear a motion for the recommendations that the health director has made?
I motion to accept the recommendations put forth by Megan.
Kevin's making the motion. Second?
Second is Ron DeGallo.
Ron is seconding it. All in favor, Matt?
Yep.
Okay, Sharon?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
And myself, so it's unanimous.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the review and your time.
Good evening.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
Okay, the last hearing we have on the agenda is for Burke, 16 Ginger Plum Lane, to consider variance requests to upgrade a Title V septic system prepared by Bass River Engineering. Setback variances from 310 CMR 15211 to allow a proposed soil absorption system to be 11 feet from a cellar wall where 20 is required, variance of 9 feet requested, to allow a soil absorption system to be 8 feet from a crawl space where 10 is required, variance of 2 feet, to allow a proposed soil absorption system to be 5 feet from the property line where 10 is required, variance of 5 feet, to allow a proposed soil absorption system to be 3 feet from the property line where 10 is required, variance request of 7 feet, to allow a proposed septic tank to be 8 feet from a crawl space where 10 is required, variance request of 2 feet, to allow a proposed septic tank to be 5 feet from the property line where 10 is required, variance of 5 feet, and to allow a proposed septic tank to be 3 feet from the property line where 10 is required, variance of 7 feet.
Okay. I open the hearing. Any
I think Tom McClellan is on the line.
Yes.
Hi,
Yes.
Tom.
Hi there. Good evening, Megan, Board of Health. For the record, my name is Tom McClellan. I am a professional civil engineer. Tonight I'm representing Sean Burke. So this house was built in 1955, and the existing cesspool has finally failed. As expected, when trying to design a 4-bedroom Title V septic system on a 5,000 square foot lot, we're going to need setback variances. We're not requesting any environmental variances. So Megan listed the variances. They're also listed on the plan and in the application. I worked on a few different designs for this site, and I think this one was the best fit. I feel that this design represents maximum feasible compliance, and it is a substantial improvement over the existing system. And with that, I'll answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Dave Denizio. I'm the neighboring abutter, 20 Ginger Plum Lane. Is the septic tanks in leaching field going to be remaining in the same location?
Well, it's a new septic tank.
Correct.
And the leaching fields, one is in the driveway and one is along the front of the house. Are you closer to the water or closer to Lower County Road?
Lower County Road.
Okay. We're not going to be doing any work on that side of the house.
Okay, so the system's going to remain? And
The new system is going to be on the opposite side of the house?
Okay, wonderful. I'm just curious. Thank you very much.
Sure thing. Thank you.
Recommendations from the health director?
Due to the small lot and the 4-bedroom house, this septic system does require variances, and it is an improvement over the cesspool system that is there. Having said that, I recommend approval of the variance requests with the following conditions: that the dwelling be deed restricted to 4 bedrooms, with the deed restriction recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds, to no increase in habitable space or square footage without review by the Board of Health, and that the dwelling shall be served by town water.
Okay, I closed the hearing. Questions from the board?
I'm good.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to accept the conditions?
I
Megan.
motion to accept the variances for 16 Ginger Plum Lane as put forth by Megan.
Kevin is making the motion. A second?
Second.
Second be Ron Gallo.
Okay, Ron is second. All in favor, Sharon?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
And myself, so it's unanimous.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. Enjoy your evening.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Tom. Okay, let's do correspondence. My report and the COVID updates are sort of muddled into one. So we included 2 notices of immediate response action status for 2 different places. These are FYIs for your information. There's nothing you need to do. These are just notifications that the Board of Health gets when there's a release of oil or fuel. And one was the truck accident on Sisson Road, and the other was a small incident at Island Pond on Island Pond Road where one of those transformers released mineral oil. So they're under a licensed site professional's guidance now, and if there isn't anything else you want to do, we need to do. I just wanted you to be aware of those things.
Okay.
And then permits is on your agenda for a vote. We have quite a few permits that are renewable because it's the end of the year. So we have quite a long list. We don't have any new permit applications except for one stable. We have a stable at 28 Deacons Folly Road, and they are pending an inspection from the animal inspector. So if you could condition that one to hold until that inspection has been completed, would be great. But the rest are just renewals. So we just need a motion and a vote on those.
I'm sorry, which one is the one that we couldn't consider right now?
They're
Pending.
stable. There's a stable at 28 Deacons Folly Road. You can approve it with the condition that it needs to pass an inspection by the animal inspector prior to issuance.
Oh, okay, okay. Do I hear a motion to pass the permits, except for the one Megan has told to hold off for now?
I'll make a motion to pass the permits.
Matt's making a motion, a second.
Second. I'll second.
Sharon's seconding it. All in favor? Kevin?
Aye.
Matt?
Yes.
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
And myself. So permits have passed.
Great. So going back to the work session, we have a COVID-19 update. A lot's happened since we met. The update that I provide to the Board of Selectmen is in your packet for each week. So every week I provide them with an update. I just gave them an update last night. Our cases are increasing to a point where we're now considered a high-risk community. We have a positivity percentage of 5.21%. And what that means is out of all the tests that have been performed for Harwich residents, 5.21% of them are positive. That in combination with having more than 25 cases in a 2-week period, new cases in a 2-week period, puts us into a red category, which is the high risk category. And to put it into perspective, the last 2 weeks, we've had 49 new cases. So
Are they from nursing homes mostly?
No, we've only had one from a nursing home.
So what's the average age of the people that are getting the COVID-19 now?
They're in their. We run everything from 7-year-olds to 97-year-olds right now, and there isn't a clear age that we have here in Harwich. Statewide, it's in the 20s. It's in the late 20s is the average age of positives, but here in Harwich we have clusters of 16 to 20-year-olds, and then we have clusters of 35 to 45-year-olds, and then we also have the 65 and older. So we're seeing it in all demographics. We're seeing a lot of household spread. So with every positive case, I see it is followed by 3 or 4 or even 5 additional cases within the same household. This is definitely springing from the Thanksgiving holiday, where people gathered outside of their own household and unknowingly contracted the virus and then brought it home and spread it to the rest of their family. Other places people are getting it are at daycares, after school activities. We've had some gymnastics and figure skating and ice hockey teams that have been impacted by all of this. So when we roll into that red zone, we have to be even more vigilant than before. I've been talking with the county about holding a COVID test clinic within the next week or so, just to try to catch those close contacts that might not go for a test. Kevin, I've been talking to Outer Cape. We're trying to.
We are opening up testing in Wellfleet and in Provincetown, and plans to open up testing in Harwich to asymptomatic patients as well. And it's a rapid swab, so test results come in 15 minutes, which the nursing experience. I mean, when we first started out and doing the swab testing, it was 2 days. In mid-COVID crisis, like mid-April, it was up to like 8 days to get a result back, and that's just useless. People need to know so that they can act. And so we are, and we'll be a little slower coming out in Harwich, but already in Wellfleet and P-Town they're opening up. If you drive by Outer Cape and Harwich, you'll see a tent outside. So we're working on the plan to have it available here in Harwich as well. So there will be available testing, and I do see the mention here of testing center at the Falmouth Fairgrounds, and then there's one also at the Melody Tent, and those are both available. I have more information from that at work, Megan, or I can email it to you if you want the information on that. There's a phone number to call. I wish I had it in front of me. I did not think to bring it.
Maybe email that out. Email that out. That'd be great.
If they can't pay even.
Yes. It's on our website, and it's been on social media. There's two different options if you're symptomatic or a close contact, and then they're doing an option if you're traveling and you need to test out for quarantine. So that one is priced a little bit higher, but they're trying to do it as low cost as they can. And once the center in Harwich is set up, we do have some CARES Act money that, as long as it's used by the end of the year, we could supplement Harwich residents and pay for Harwich residents. So that's something that I want to talk to Outer Cape about in order to get free testing for Harwich residents. And I know Cape Cod Healthcare and Outer Cape are running kind of sliding scales. If you can't pay, they're not going to expect you to pay. But if the CARES Act can somehow supplement that, that would be even better. But the fairgrounds is open on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The Melody Tent is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, and then on Saturdays and Sundays from, I want to say, 10 to 2, but don't quote me on that one. There was a press release. There's a phone number you have to call to get an appointment. You don't need a doctor's referral, but if you have one, they'll take your health insurance information. So these are not the Binex Now tests. These are the nasal swabs, as far as I know, that are at those two locations. So it is a 48-hour turnaround time, but it is a nice option to it's a drive-through situation. So
CVS will do it at a drive-through CVS these days too. You can sign up for it online.
Yeah. Yep. And that one's free as well. So CVS.com, you can go on and you can request a date to get a test and a time, and it's a self-administered test, and you just do it right in the drive-through area. We're trying to push for a Stop the Spread site down here, which is no appointment, no symptoms, no nothing. So, and that one is completely free to residents and to the town. So I don't know if we'll get a Stop the Spread site, but we're looking for one. So as of Sunday, all of Massachusetts rolled back phase 3, step 1. We were in step 2, but because of the spread, we're back in step 1, and some restrictions on gathering sizes. So we're down to 50 people for an outside gathering instead of 100. Indoor gatherings are 25 if it's an event, or 10 if it's at a private home. Masks are required inside gyms, even if you can social distance or stay 14 feet away. And same thing with restaurants. Now restaurants have more restrictions on them, where you have to wear a mask unless you're in the act of eating or drinking something. And restaurants have to place a 90-minute restriction on tables. So patrons only have 90 minutes to spend in the restaurant. No music or entertainment is allowed in restaurants. And we're back down to 6 people per table at restaurants. The COVID updates are in the packet over the last couple of months. Then as far as town business goes, the library has gone back to curbside only instead of inside browsing. The community center has restricted a few of their events. Indoor performances are not allowed in this phase. So band practice and other musical performance venue type vendors aren't able to use the community center right now. And because of a few positive kids at the Monomoy school system over the weekend, the 7th grade has gone remote and the high school has gone remote for the remainder of the year. It's a combination of still needing to do some contact tracing, having a good majority of teachers out where they don't have the staff to do in-person schooling, so they've decided to just go remote. DY school system's done the same thing, so it's not completely unheard of. So that is what's happened in the last couple of weeks, and we have only had one case in a nursing home, and the nursing homes are Wingate and the Rosewood are doing weekly testing of staff now. They had been able to take a break from that over the summer, but they're back to testing the staff once a week. And so far we've had one resident and one staff member test positive in Wingate. So they're fully containing that. And then moving on to my monthly reports, other things non-COVID related, which seem possible right now because everything's COVID. We held a couple of public flu clinics in October. Were very successful. They were drive-through. We had lots of compliments on those. Both Barnstable County Nurse and the VNA helped us with those clinics. And we did over 450 people for flu vaccines over those 2 clinics, which was phenomenal. We've received money from the state to reimburse us for flu clinic administrative costs. We usually incur those costs ourselves, but because of this grant, it's kind of a it's $1,800. It's not an enormous amount, but it covers all of the costs to pay the VNA staff to administer the vaccine and We had purchased some tents to keep us dry from the weather. All of those expenses were covered, which is wonderful. Other stuff, we had a meeting with the health agents once a week, virtually, to do COVID vaccine distribution plans. Going back to COVID, because it always goes back to COVID, apparently. We know that the vaccine is available to healthcare workers now, and we're preparing for distribution to the general public, which is slated for sometime starting in April. Because the vaccine has to be kept at such a low frozen temperature, we don't have the facility to stock it at our refrigerator. So we'll be partnering with the county, who has secured some sub-zero refrigeration units, and we'll be getting the vaccine from them. And we're coming up with some plans to either do a regional clinic or just a town clinic once the vaccine becomes available. And there's still a lot of question marks on that, with how much vaccine are we going to get all at once. It's a 2-dose vaccine, so there's some logistics that we still have to work out for that, but we are planning on it. We had a tobacco violation over at Value Mart.
Megan, before you continue with that, can I ask a question regarding the COVID rollout?
Of course. Yes.
On phase 2, which from what I was seeing and hearing from Governor Baker, was supposed to start somewhere around the middle of February. And I got the impression that that would be, what they're saying, with individuals with 2 or more comorbidities at a high risk, early education, K-12, I'm trying to read this, it's grocery, food, and agricultural, sanitation, public works, and then adults 65 plus, and then individuals with 1 comorbidity. So those were the ones that were listed in phase 2 to start somewhere in February. So I would be included in that one since I'm over 65. So I'm wondering how are they going to roll that out? Are we going to know when it's going to be available to us?
Yes. Yeah. So other providers like primary care physicians or even Walgreens and CVS have contracted with the state to be able to provide vaccine. So if the towns don't have enough vaccine to be able to provide it to those priority groups, then you'll be getting it from your provider most likely.
All right, but how do we find out? Through what means do we find out when we're available to look into this? In other words, when do we, other than listening to Governor Baker, if you don't listen to that, how do we know when, if and when things work out that it's available for us middle of February? I mean, is it going to?
It would probably come through Governor Baker's office through to the local boards of health. So you would hear it probably from us, from me.
All right. So you would send out some sort of an update or a notice that would say, for these particular individuals, there's, you can see your provider or whatever. So that's how we find out. All right. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And if you are signed up for the reverse 911 calls, there'll be something like that. There'll be press releases, things like that.
Okay.
So there's those options, and I'm sure it will be all over the news and in the newspaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
All right, thank you.
I know Outer Cape Health will, I'm sure, post it in the paper. We post everything in there, and we're at the stage, I'm sure, like most other places, that we know we're getting it. We just don't know when yet. So we know it's on the way, but with the same thing, we don't have the capability of storing anything at -70. So that's not happening. We'll probably wind up waiting for the Moderna one or another variation thereof that doesn't need to be kept so cold. But there's a lot of logistical things with it. You know, you're supposed to wait 20 minutes when you get a vaccine anyway, but like nobody's going to be allowed to leave. We will be monitoring everybody. If anybody has an anaphylaxis reaction, they're not recommending it. So there's still a lot going on with that. But I'm sure, Sharon, if you keep your eyes peeled to the paper, you'll see an announcement from Outer Cape Health, and that'll probably be a pretty good, red flag to let you know that you're a provider or everything else, that it'll be available. Because I'm sure they will promote the crap out of it.
All right, I'm waiting.
Other things in my report, I was going to say Value Mart had a tobacco violation back in October. They were selling flavored products where they're not allowed to do that anymore. During an inspection, I was showing Jerry, our new inspector, how to do a tobacco inspection, and we discovered that they were selling flavored products. So they were fined, and because there's no wiggle room in the fining schedule anymore from the state, they were fined $1,000, and they paid their fine. Just wanted that to be in your packet, so it's in the record for the future. If they possibly have a second violation, they'll be fined $2,000 because it's within the same year. I think that kind of covers my report.
Is there any further follow-up? In other words, I guess I'm looking at, for the amount of money that they make selling that $1,000 isn't much of a deterrent. So what is there a follow? I mean, how often can they have that before something else goes? Before it's, they shut them down or whatever.
In your tobacco sales regulation, there's kind of steps towards taking their license or suspending their license. I don't have it in front of me, so I don't know exactly what it is, but I think after the second violation, there's a hearing before the board, and you have the option to suspend their tobacco sales permit for, I believe it's 7 days. And then if they do it again, then you can suspend their permit for 30 days or indefinitely if they are caught selling during their suspension period.
Okay.
So I'm able to answer any COVID questions or any health department questions or anything like that, or you are we're able to adjourn if you're done.
Anybody have any questions or anything?
Nope. Can I make a motion to adjourn?
Do I hear
Seconded.
a motion to adjourn? Sharon's motion.
Sounds good.
And Ron seconding it. Kevin, are you in agreement?
I'm in agreement. I just had some company come in, so.
Okay there.
Oh, cutie. And Matt, are you in agreement?
Yes.
And I'm in agreement. So the meeting is adjourned. Happy holiday, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Stay safe.
Bye, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Bye, everyone.